Hi, welcome back to my channel, Mostly Paper Crafts. I'm Hannah and I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that I have this opportunity to share my card making with you and to help inspire you to make cards to send out to other people too. I decided for my second video to continue on with the January My Monthly Hero kit, the one with the bees, because after I made my first 5 cards, I still had so many more things I wanted to do. Honestly, after I finish these cards, there's still more I want to do, but I'll probably move on to another kit in the next video. Isn't it funny when you're afraid to start something and then once you do, you don't want to stop? It's like that initial fear that's holding you back. Once you power past that, it just opens up this whole world of possibility. And for card making, it opens up a whole world of creative possibilities. I decided to put some challenges on myself other than just creating the cards. I decided I wanted to use all the images from the set, not necessarily the sentiments, because I want to send them out and not all of the sentiments are going to speak to me. If I bought add-ons for the kit, which I usually do, I want to make sure to use those too. I decided I wanted to have at least one card with an interactive element. I want to use the paper that's included with the kit. I mostly want to use the paper that's included in the kit. It's getting a little easier, but it's still a bit of a challenge. And for bonus points, I want to use my scan and cut on a card. I love my scan and cut, but honestly, it doesn't get quite as much use as I thought it would when I bought it. So I'd like some motivation to use that machine more. Without any further ado, let's take a look at what I made this week. Here are the stamps and dies from the January 2021 My Monthly Hero kit. And for my first card today, I used this little stamp here and this fancy die to create a shaker. So a few more things that I want to show you about this shaker card. I did ink blend after I cut out this opening. I used that stamp I showed you with clear embossing powder and embossed some honeycomb into the background. And then the most fun part about this kit are the little bees. So those are on Shrinky Dinks, and I stamped and cut them out, colored them, shrank them with my heat gun, and put them into the shaker. I used dies to create these letters and my typewriter to finish off the sentiment, "I've been thinking about you." Now, this shaker had a rough beginning, as in this is a second edition. Here's my first one, made a huge mistake. I'm a firm believer that you can just fix any mistake that you make, but I thought it was going to be a good idea to put black glitter in here. No, it sticks to everything and you can't see the pretty little bees, and this card is a wash. Now I saved it just to show you in the video, but I am going to take this apart so that I can clean off those bees and use them in another card. What a waste. Even though I messed up on this shaker card, I'll be able to maybe save the front if I can pull it off of those foam squares, and of course I'll be able to keep my cute little bees in there. But all is really not lost, because by creating 2 of these, since I ink blended around those honeycombs, these are the inks I used, I had ink blended on white cardstock, and I was able to create 2 more cards. So basically using that die cut as a stencil. I did this one first. The cardstock is just on craft. I put in a nice ribbon, made a bow, wasn't super happy with how it looked. This bow here was pre-made and I colored it with my marker to make it match. It was originally white, and I popped my little bee up on a foam square. The second one I was very pleased with. I love the color scheme here. I colored these die cuts with my Spectrum Noir markers, and these bees and flowers are from the Bees and Flower Fancy Dies. It was one of the add-ons for this month. It was the only one that I bought, so I wanted to make sure that I used it. And if you haven't tried this technique yet, where you take your die cut and make multiples and glue them together to give it some dimension, I highly recommend it. It's really fun and easy to do, and it adds a lot to your card because it really makes it thick, kind of like chipboard. So I did 4 layers of this bee, 3 layers on this bee, and 2 layers on this flower. So they're actually multiple different levels. And when you see this card in person, I think all of that dimension really shows through. This pink paper back here I've had forever, and then I've got a pretty little layer of vellum there as well. I was very happy with how this card turned out. For my next card, I did a bunch of coloring here. I used a die from Sunnyside Studios to cut out the frame, as well as a piece of marker paper so I could do some coloring with my alcohol markers. I do use Spectrum Noir markers. I was able to pick up a nice set of those from Tuesday Morning a while back at a decent price. I was happy with how the colors came together. I did use my color wheel to choose the shades that I used, and overall I think that this card has a very lovely appearance. I challenged myself to use an element from another My Monthly Hero kit. So here's one that I think is awesome. This is February 2019, and it came with this fancy background die, which I knew I wanted, but the reason I chose this kit is because of the sentiment, "You're the bee's knees," and of course we're talking about bees here. So here are the two cards I created. Couldn't just do one because when you cut out this frame, it leaves all of these fancy pieces, and you know I don't want to waste my paper. So what I did is after I cut this out, before I popped out all the pieces, I just put a little bit of glue on them, and then I set that down on top of a piece of white cardstock, and I was able to transfer them very nicely. And I actually think I like this one a little better than this one. Very sparkly. I did use the Hero Arts glitter lacquer pen on the wings of both of these bees, as well as some glossy accents on the actual bee itself, because after I just stamped it, it really kind of faded into the background with all this fancy glitter, so I wanted to make the bees stand out a little bit more. So of course I'm not kidding when I talk about not wanting to waste my fancy paper, and there's no way I would use all of that beautiful yellow paper just to get this thin border. So I did use one of my dies from Lawn Fawn. I think I used this one here because I just needed that very thin border, and when I use that die, it cuts out this big rectangle in the middle, and then I can keep that piece to use later on another project. If you've been keeping track, you might have noticed we're already up to more than 5 cards, but here are my bonus cards for this week's video, and I did use my scan and cut to create these. So I designed this hexagon shadow box on the scan and cut a few months ago. I was inspired by a really cool hexagon shadow box die that I saw from Sizzix, but I wanted to be able to mail it, and it definitely wouldn't fold flat. So I looked at what they had done and like, no, there's no way I can make that fold flat. I need to come up with my own design. So what I created allows this to pop apart and easily folds flat and can be put into a standard envelope. And it's really cool because when the recipient opens it up, it's gonna look like this. It'll look like that when they open it up, and it's automatically already going to pop up a little bit, so it's going to be obvious what to do. But I created it so that there are little slots here for the tabs to pop into, so it's really quick and easy to assemble. And there we go. We get these cute little shadow boxes. And I did put my sentiment on the back of these because I do intend them to be cards that I could mail out. And these were just 2 little bee dies that I had in my stash. I needed something small there to fill the rest of the space. Here's another look at the cards that I showcased in this video using the January 2021 My Monthly Hero Kit from Hero Arts. I hope that this video inspired you to create some things using supplies that you already have. If you have this kit, like I said before, it's sold out, but if you have this kit, I hope that it gave you some ideas of how to use it. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I'd love to hear what you thought in the comments. I'll see you next time. Until then, go make something beautiful.